This week in Pure Reinvention.
Self-discovery allows you to find out, what do you really enjoy? What does Elyse really care about at the end of the day? Who do I really want to be 5 years from now?
Episode 45, Elyse Kopietz, Director of Communications, Marketing, and Events at the Michigan Manufacturers Association.
Engage, disrupt, adapt, repeat. You're listening to Pure Reinvention, the podcast for curious people.
Welcome to this edition of Pure Reinvention, where we create space for the unexpected by inspiring a reinvention lifestyle fueled by curiosity, fortified with courage, and activated through practice. Hi, Misty.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, this week was so cool. What did you think about Elise's conversation with us?
I think Elyse is dynamic. She understands a lot, not just about association work, but about what it takes to build a good team and to work with a team in whatever business you're in that can really get things going.
I think the Pure Reinvention team has been fascinated by Elyse and by her contributions and her thoughts. So much so, Misty, that Elyse was helping us put together our WE.INVENT.
That's an exciting thing coming up.
Experience, right? That's coming up in about 3 weeks now.
October 23rd.
An all-girls experience investing in the really important group of individuals who can make significant contributions in the marketplace.
I'm really looking forward to kicking this off because we've had a core group of women that have helped us design the project, and it'll be fun to see it come to fruition and kind of expand our club a little bit bigger and have new people that we can connect with, and that's such an exciting thing for me.
This is our pilot that will be debuted, and then we're very hopeful. I guess hopeful is a bad word to use. We are expecting, how's that? That's a much better word. Like that we will have this available on a regular basis starting in 2016. We will have cohorts that individuals can participate in, and the journey begins. Probably for me, Misty, the interesting conversation that you have with individuals like Elyse, and I'm going to call those people the non-baby boomers, and I don't know whether they're Generation X or Generation Y or they're Generation Millennials.
It's a little blurry. It gets kind of blurry,
they kind of feel like they're tweeners. I don't know what they do define for me is they are the customer. Mm-hmm. They are the customer base that's getting larger and larger and larger, and in many ways they're becoming more and more dissatisfied with the way businesses have been behaving.
And we've learned that they're a vocal group. They're a very vocal generation. They're used to being able to provide feedback for better or worse.
They're not afraid to tell you what they think.
Yep.
They do engage. We know that they will own. We know that they will deeply commit if they are feeling the connection. And I think sometimes as businesses, we fail to really pull them in the way we should.
And that is exactly what we're trying to do with our other program that we're launching soon, Pure Reinvention Starters.
That's exactly right. That program, which will be November 5th and 6th, again, a pilot that will be in downtown Detroit, is intended to help people who are very interested in what the Pure Reinvention process is, using the backdrop of Detroit. And for those individuals who know there's another step past what we've been experiencing in today's business world, and how we begin to lift off into a new era. And we've been able to pilot this, Misty, with a lot of the post-boomers, mm-hmm. and they're very excited about it.
And I think that's a great target audience because they have seen, every generation sees their own changes, right? And they have to be nimble with those changes. But this post-boomer age had a lot of experience in the technology realm and done such a good job of being very nimble and are ready and responsive for that. So Starters just gives them the opportunity to apply a little bit of strategy and a form to that.
We are very excited to move our concepts into reality through this pilot phase in the fall and early winter of 2015, and to go into making these available on a regular basis into 2016. And I know everybody on the Pure Reinvention team is really leaning forward and really excited about this. Misty, as people, getting back to now Elise's interview, is there something that they should be listening to as they start to listen to Lisa's comments?
There is a lot to listen to in this, but I would say most notably listen for what we just said, because Elyse is in that post-boomer generation. So listen to the ideas she's bringing to the table on how to run a team, how to encourage a team, and how to bring diversity of thought into a company culture.
And Misty, let's you and I connect at the end.
Looking forward to it.
It's my pleasure this week for our podcast to introduce to you Elyse Kopietz, Director of Communication, Marketing, and Events for the Michigan Manufacturers Association. Welcome, Elyse.
Hi, Mike. Happy to be here.
Elyse, you and I have had a chance to spend some time together over the past number of years, and so I'm really excited to have you here today.
Me too.
Elyse, tell us a little bit about your background so people can become familiar with you.
Alrighty. Well, I am a Lansing native, been in this area the majority of my life, Michigan State grad, and then fortunately, I stumbled into association work and found that I loved it. So I've been in this arena for more than 10 years. Then on the personal side of things, just to keep things lively, I have 3 children and a husband, a dog, and a cat. So it's a little bit of a circus in my life, but that's the way I like it.
Yes, well, and I think that really speaks to how everyone's life today has this mesh between the professional and personal balance. And that's what we want to talk to you about today. The other thing that I know that you're very passionate about, Elyse, is investing in yourself for your own leadership development, both personally and professionally. Can you talk a little bit about your journey as a professional and how you've been able to invest in yourself to grow your own success?
I'd love to talk about this. So looking back a little bit on who I am to share a little more light on that, I'm probably what you would call an overachiever. So through school, I wanted to do really well. I was really involved in a lot of things, very outgoing. Well, then comes the big, bad, real world where you're surrounded by people who are like that. And there's not really an award for being outstanding. You're expected to be outstanding. Yep. So that was an interesting transition for me. And early on in my career, I began to look at how do I differentiate myself? How do I accelerate my career? How do I be the best person that I can be personally and professionally? A lot of introspection came out of that, but also a lot of reaching out to the people around me to find out, how do I achieve these goals? How do I even start to identify my goals first, and then how do I achieve them? So working with people within the industry, working with wonderful coaches like yourself, working with outstanding organizations and my peers, and just continuing to learn and grow all the way along the way.
So you've talked about spending your career to this point in association and now in association management. And with your belief that the opportunity exists for us to really invest in ourselves and grow, do you think that most businesses, including associations, have invested to the degree they need to in their people to get their maximum productivity?
I think at this point in our world, we are on the edge of a great change. So do I think that businesses and associations are as prepared for that as we could be? No, but I don't think that's a problem. The change that I see coming is the rise of multiple generations in the workforce, generations looking for different things from their employer, members looking for different things from their association.
Well, that's a good
and
point.
I think that you're going to see a great reinvention happening very, very quickly.
So you are, I'm going to guess you're kind of on the edge between being a boomer and being a millennial, being a professional female. You can kind of see all of these different factors coming together in this interesting combination. And I'm watching your face, and I can see that you are excited about the opportunity that exists, even though businesses and associations might be a little confused as to what to do. You're very excited about that.
I am very excited about that. I think that change is a good thing. To stay in the same place becomes boring. It becomes stagnant. You're not learning. You're not growing. You're not pushing the boundaries. So to do that as a person or as an organization, I think is always a great thing.
So let's talk for a minute about the opportunity businesses have to push the boundaries and to reinvent themselves as they're asking their employees to reinvent themselves. How does a business start to open the door, Elyse, to let employees like yourself bring that kind of energy to help make those kind of changes take place?
the first answer is culture, which is a very big word and that encompasses so many things. But when you can build a culture within your organization that is open to change, it's open to people taking risks, you are accepting of people being vulnerable, you understand that sometimes they may succeed and sometimes they may not, that creates a great environment for pushing those boundaries, for trying new things. We've had the great opportunity to try a lot of different things at our association. Some have flown with beautiful flying colors, others have completely flopped. In both situations, you learn from it. You take a risk, you try something, you tweak it, and then you try again, or you move in a different direction. Either way, it's a great opportunity.
You used a very interesting word, and I want you to spend some more time and talk about it, Elyse, and that's this word called accepting. In the world that you're describing, we have a lot of different things that are coming together. Not a lot of the same things coming together, but a lot of different things now coming together. How do we begin to accept those things that are different from us when we're used to seeing things that are the same?
Well, to me, it's a little different in terms of accepting people who are different from us and accepting work that is different from us. And also different expectations. There's so many different angles to take from this. So one key piece for me is accepting people where they are. So when you come to know your own strengths and weaknesses very well, it allows you to better see other people's strengths and weaknesses. And not that you want to change them, that you want to improve their strengths or you want to eliminate their weaknesses, but it just allows you to see them for who they are and appreciate them for who they are. And then you can maximize their skills and their passions to help them grow. Rather than trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, you figure out how do you have a square peg to go in that square hole.
This is a really interesting thought, and that is, I think what you're saying is that leaders need to be scanning the horizon for the talent base that they have and learning to fit the talent into the direction that they're going, as opposed to what we've done historically in the past, which is the reverse, which is going out and finding square pegs when we need to fit a square hole. Which may not be as productive in today's environment as at least what you're describing, which is look at the staff that you have, look at the talents that they have, and there may be opportunities within that group that you never dreamed were possible.
Absolutely. I would just take that a step further to say, particularly with the younger generations in the workforce I can speak to, they have a very strong passion for professional development and personal growth. They're very interested in learning. They're very interested in accelerating their careers and building new skill sets. So if you have someone and you can identify where their skills are, where they would like to go, and then provide them with those professional development opportunities, you're going to have a very, very engaged employee. And that, again, is going to get to the culture of innovation that you're trying to achieve. When you have someone who's engaged, they're more willing to take risks. They're a lot more creative. They're willing to put in a lot more than just the basics of what you need to get the job done.
So that would suggest that employers today need to be very aggressive at having a robust budget line item for professional development.
I absolutely agree, and look at it from different angles. So there's in-person, there's webinars, there's books, there's articles. Help people identify what their learning style is and find the programs that not just fit the skill, but also fit their learning style. And then if you really want to expand that budget item to get the most ROI as you can, figure out how you could help people to bring that information back and share it with other employees so that we're learning from each other as well.
I think there's the phenomenal thought process that goes with what you're talking about, Elyse, and that is professional development or education for both the member, the customer, as well as the employee becomes very much a product that the business has to offer. Is that correct?
It absolutely is correct. The dynamics around that, I believe, are one of the areas that associations are going to be changing dramatically. We are in a time where the customer likes to choose. So I give the example of Amazon, where you can hop online and you can buy anything and you can pick your shipping point. Every option is available to you. As consumers, we are no different, whether it's on the professional side or the member side. We want to pick and choose. We want to pick the program that's right for us. We want to pick the format that's right for us. And there's no shortage of opportunities to do that. It's just finding the most quality ones that fit with what you want to develop.
So with everything being personalized today, in today's world, and you just described, I want it personalized to me, how does a business personalize offerings so it feels like it's made just for me?
That is a great question, and I wish I had the straight-to-the-point answer for you. The true answer is it's a big endeavor. It starts with getting to know your members. So whether you're going out through focus groups or participating in events or reaching out one-on-one, find out what are they concerned about. What do they need? And listen. Sometimes those answers are really hard to hear because you find out that as an association, you're not providing what it is that they want. But isn't that better to know before you offer it?
That's exactly right. Historically, companies that are stressed and having trouble are providing products that are old, don't match the marketplace anymore. And those companies that are growing have new product offerings on a regular basis, are in touch and connected with their customer base, and are monitoring and talking and listening so that they know.
Absolutely.
So that brings me to a question on social media.
I love social media.
How do we use social media to stay connected to a portion of our marketplace and really build that bridge of information so we can start to flow this information back and forth real time, right? Real time, I think, which is an important term for marketing, to help us develop the kinds of touch points to our customers that they need.
The first thing I think that is most important is to identify what social media really is and what your expectations for that are. Everyone knows someone who says that Facebook is destroying our world, everyone spends too much time on their phones, yada, yada, yada. Social media is not going to replace other communications. It is another tool in your toolbox to communicate with people.
Right.
And so look at it that way. Don't put all your eggs into one basket and think that you are going to build your business or build your brand using social media. It's just another way to engage with one of your market segments. Also with social media, it's really important that you look at it as both a push and a pull. So are you trying to engage your audience? Are you asking leading questions? Are you trying to have a conversation with them and use it as a platform to understand what their thoughts and opinions are? Or are you just looking to push your message and then you're going to delete any comments that aren't complimentary to you? That's not what social media is for. It's for having a conversation. So use it as that tool and it will be a great asset for you.
It's interesting. I remember we had a podcast with Stan Smith, who told us that social media is like having a conversation around a campfire.
Absolutely.
And so you can dominate the discussion, you can listen to the discussion, but it's about having a conversation. I think, Elyse, sometimes we tend to think of success in business and we think of the Lone Ranger. We think of the one person who made this huge difference. Yet I'm going to guess that you're going to put a lot of value on the diversity of the team and having a diverse team effort that really succeeds. Talk about how in today's world we need to really focus on the entire team and the diversity that the team needs to bring for success.
Well, today we are all wearing so many hats and running as fast as we possibly can. We have different backgrounds, different experiences that changes the lens that we see the world and how we approach our work. I believe that the more people that you can have involved in that, so when you have a very collaborative team who's willing to work together and all bring those unique perspectives, you end up with a much more well-rounded product. When you're sitting in your office alone and thinking about something, you have no basis to know, is this good? Is this bad? How would you even begin to determine that when it's all in your head? A great lesson that I learned from working with you, Mike, is that sometimes it helps to just verbalize it.
It does.
So we get so caught up in our heads, what about this? What about that? If. Sometimes you just need to get it out there and have a person that you can voice that to. There's been a number of times where you've come back at me with just one really powerful question, and it completely shifts the way that I'm focusing on that. When you work in a silo, you're eliminating those opportunities for yourself. It may be more comfortable. You may be eliminating the vulnerability of being wrong.
Good point.
But I don't know that you're going to be doing better than if you can collaborate.
Right, and I think historically we've looked at independent thought as real valuable and creating great efficiencies. Yet I think in the generation of customers and employees that we're going to, that collaborative energy that you're describing
Yes.
is so important in getting to that next level of offerings, where
Yes.
the next level of a product offering is, where the next level of an educational offering is, where the next level of a really valuable relationship comes into play. Speak for a minute, Elyse, as you look at different opportunities that are available to you as a professional, the important value of building a relationship and feeling like you're connected to whatever you're involved in.
I think for different people, there's different value on that. For me, it is extremely important. As I said, I have 3 little children, and they're adorable and they're cute. And so my time away from them, I want to know that what I'm doing is valuable, that it means something to me, it means something to the people around me. If I'm taking time away from my family and other things that I enjoy, it needs to be also spent on something that I enjoy, and that's work. I do enjoy work.
So you have had a chance to invest some of your time in an offering that we are going to be debuting here very soon, an offering called WE.INVENT.
I am so excited about this program.
I brought that idea to you early on. You got very excited about it, and you've been able to provide leadership and direction and counsel to us as great feedback. But I'm really curious to know, Elyse, why did you get so excited about that when we first started talking about it?
Women in professional roles is a very important topic to me. And as I've gone through my career, I've really begun to see how very different men and women are. And that's something that we should embrace. That's something that we should learn how to cultivate and use to our advantage, both ends of the equation. We spend a number of years in college, postgraduate, learning how to operate a business, but we don't learn how to be leaders and how to work with one another. I think that the program that is being developed, WE.INVENT, is doing just that. It's providing a group of very strong women to learn from each other, for each of us to bring our skills and our experiences, that lens that we see the world, and share it with one another to increase the collaboration and creativity around us. It also provides a network of people that you can ask questions of. So you're not sitting in your office in your head wondering if. It gives you someone to actually reach out to and have a conversation and figure out how valuable something that you're thinking about truly is. It also is really important to continue to grow and increase your own skills and awareness of yourself, and this program will do that. I think that it will help women to see the value that they bring, to understand their unique strengths in the professional world, and really embrace that.
You are talking about being exposed to other successful individuals and learning from them. Mm-hmm. In essence, the journey of self-discovery. Mm-hmm. Where does self-discovery fit in your own personal and professional journey, Elyse?
At the top. I would say self-discovery, personally and professionally, is very, very important to me. We are so busy, and you can get caught in the day-to-day and just moving along, checking off the to-do list. But will that bring you satisfaction and happiness? And I think the answer is no. Self-discovery allows you to find out, what do you really enjoy? What does Elyse really care about at the end of the day? Who do I really want to be 5 years from now? And to create that path for myself. I'm writing my own story. I don't know the end yet. And hopefully I don't know it for a long, long time. But self-discovery helps me to continue to change that story, make new chapters.
We've had a wonderful conversation, Elyse. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful insights.
Thank you, Mike.
Misty, I don't think I'll ever get tired of somebody saying they're really excited about the journey of self-discovery.
Isn't it fun? Everybody's is a little different, and when they're really passionate about it, you can tell, and it's contagious.
I know I'm trying to separate out if this is really just Elyse or whether this is just a whole generation of individuals who are very excited to be on their own journey. And instead of being told what to do, which has been the typical educational lifestyle of plopping people down in front of a PowerPoint and kind of fire hosing them with information, they want enough information to get them started, and then they want to go on their own journey, and they want to kind of discover it on their own. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. We're in the age of personalization. Everybody wants it unique to them, something catered very much in a way that it's only meaningful to them.
Well, and what would it, coming from a boomer who's only used to information that's given to you, you don't own it. You don't feel any connection to it.
Right.
But if you go through on this journey of self-discovery and you think of any journey that we've ever been on where we've actually had to figure it out, we'll own it. And when we own it, how much different is that?
You know, I think it's a Home Depot commercial. Maybe it's Menards. No, I think it's Home Depot. That kind of caters to the, we're the generation of DIYers. We're the do-it-yourself people. And that is, we'll figure it out. There's this new movement, and maybe it's because information is more accessible than it's ever been before. You don't have to wait till you get to an encyclopedia and go through all the pages. I mean, you can Google it and 30 seconds have this vast amount of information at your fingertips.
Yeah, Encyclopedia Britannica doesn't do much in the print world anymore. But what's interesting is when you work with an individual in that generation who wants to go on their own journey and you tell them too much, they actually get mad. They actually don't want you to tell them the answer. They want to figure it out. They want to YouTube it. They want to Google it. They want to discover it. And so when Elyse talks about this journey of self-discovery, I think that begins to dramatically change how education is looked at going forward, and especially adults and education.
Well, Elyse said a really important word, exposure. She talked about the exposure to the idea. And it reminds me of a recent episode. Actually, it's in the first season of How to Get Away with Murder. Which
yes,
is
we've just started watching that.
A show I'm just starting to watch on Netflix, and it's a great one. But she challenges, the main character is a lawyer and also a college professor, for those of you who aren't up on the show.
Worth watching, by
It
the
is
way.
worth watching. But she challenges her students to help her on a case that she's arguing or defending right now, like a live case in this show. And what she challenged the students to do was nobody could have the same solution. Nobody could offer her the same argument. And that is exposure to ideas at the adult learning level that we need to see it.
So she was hungry to know what other people's thoughts were, because if I understand what you're thinking, Misty, it can enhance my level of thinking.
Exactly.
And it appears that once you get comfortable allowing others to enhance your own level of thinking, there's no end to the growth that can take place.
Right, and it's something Elyse said too about figuring out the square peg round hole thing. We'll figure out how to make a square hole that square peg can work into.
Well, it was Cindy Bowen who said it in one of the most previous podcasts that we've done.
Right.
That said, in the old way we used to do things, we used to figure out what our weaknesses were and then try to educate ourselves on those. And now let's embrace what our strengths are, and wherever we are weak, let's surround ourselves with people who can enhance it. So in this show that you were just referencing, this woman said, I only know certain things. So class, come up with your version of how we should approach it, and between all of us together, the solution will be much stronger.
I read something on a blog recently that struck me, and it was basically telling us to, instead of having confirmation bias, instead of coming up with an idea and finding ways that just support your idea, why don't you find ways to plug hole or make holes in your idea?
Right.
So find ways to argue against it, because that's only going to improve your idea.
Well, that was the interesting thing, if you watch that show, and particularly that episode, was people had ideas, but they weren't 100% foolproof. Each of them had their strengths and weaknesses. And it was a matter of, was there enough strengths, and what were the weaknesses, and how did you start to really learn through that? So for me, how we begin to take the total amount of experience that's available and then go on our own journey is exactly what Elyse was encouraging everyone who's listening to this podcast to do.
I know, and she makes a hell of a point because it's a really compelling argument. Why not go on our own journey and bring what we learned and whatever filters we apply it through our experiences, our life, and bring it to the table because it's going to help fill in the holes of somebody else's idea.
So let's talk about an experience that's going to be happening in early November called PureReinvention Starters, which does just that. Mm-hmm. It immerses people into the city of Detroit in step one to let them experience first the kind of disruption and the kind of reinvention that's going on before we even sit them down in any kind of in a classroom setting to talk about what reinvention is.
I'm so pumped for this day and a half experience right downtown Detroit. So we're not only putting you in a classroom setting, we're also putting you on the ground in real life business settings. And I think that's important to create that exposure, to continue to put yourself in the place of different ideas.
Misty, a word that you have taught me, and I've used it over and over, and I truly don't know to the depth to which we can really experience it, is a word called immersion. Mm-hmm. That we are actually going to immerse people into this experience. What does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it means that you aren't just using one sense to experience it, or one or two different of your senses. It's a full immersion. So it's all a multi-sensory experience. So you're going to hear it, you're going to see it, you're going to be able to feel it, touch it, smell it. It even has a smell. You know, it's all of those things that come together, and you feel it from a 360-degree way.
I shared with you a picture that I had gotten yesterday. You know that I'm very impressed with the three primary colors and how we begin to look at all the different colors in the universe based on those three primary colors. And then I saw a three-dimensional three primary colors, and it blew me away.
It was amazing to see that in a live, real three-dimensional
It was,
model.
and then all of a sudden, it confused me. It intrigued me. I wanted to get closer to it. I wanted to step away from it. I wanted to smell it. I wanted to touch it. I wanted to taste it. I wanted to do all the things that you're talking about in an immersion because I was interested, mm-hmm. and I had no idea how it worked. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to take it home with me so I could just ponder it.
You might have gotten in trouble for trying to do that. I'm glad you thought better of that.
But this immersion thing, which is what I think Elyse is talking about with the self-discovery, is a very powerful educational tool that we need to use more of as we go forward.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, you can have all of the degrees in the world. It doesn't exchange real life experience. There is nothing you can do to make up for boots on the ground, in the job, doing the work, figuring it out experience. And I think that's what we're trying to offer with this immersion stuff through PureReinvention Starters, is you're there and you're figuring it out live. That's how we make those connections that make sense. And then we can apply to whatever our next problem or challenge is.
You know, I just thought about this, and I hadn't anticipated this. Is in my mind, I was thinking people would leave these experiences and they would take away what we gave them. The reality is they're going to take away what they experience, and we have no idea.
Totally. You can't control that. Isn't that an exciting
thing? To what degree
thing?
Their own self-discovery will take the information that we have shared and allow them to capture it, harness it, and let them take their own journey of self-discovery.
So just a quick plug on that. If you guys are interested in our Starters program, you can register through Eventbrite. It is November 5th and 6th in Detroit. We are looking forward to it. Would love to have you as part of our pilot test.
Misty, as always, this has been a marvelous immersion.
I enjoy it every time. If you're ready to make a change that lasts. Make it Pure Reinvention.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pure Reinvention. Keep the conversation going and get alerts when new podcasts are up by following us on Twitter at PureReinvention or sign up for our mailing list at PureReinvention.com.